All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. It says we're setting up, so I'll just let my screen load just to make sure you can hear everything. Excellent. Well, today I am pleased to announce that we have a guest from Elder Network virtually to join us for our quarterly Partners and Pastries event. And now, unfortunately, with the pandemic, we can't be next to each other and share pastries this morning as we learn about your programming, but we are pleased to still do this virtually and hear from you today, Holly. So I will bring it over to you and ask that you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Elder Network and your mission.
Great, thanks, Amy. So my name's Holly Brown. I've been with Elder Network over 13 years and currently am the interim executive director as well as the companion respite coordinator here at Elder Network. And I am just so happy to have been a part of this agency for all these years. We have been focusing on supporting those 55 and better through non-medical services over the last 33 years. And our goal really is to help people be as independent as they can and to decrease isolation and loneliness, and also to provide supports and services to caregivers along their caregiver journey. So we do have a variety of programs and services here that we have been adapting or evolving, I'd say, over the years, kind of as the needs of the community has arose. When Elder Network first started, it was really peer support. So those also 55 and better, volunteering to be matched one-on-one with a senior to really help them deal with aging issues such as grief and loss, maybe retirement, having to move, downsize, things of that nature that people of that age population would experience, and be able to give them that peer-to-peer support and guidance. Over the years, we added Caregiver Supports, so being able to offer in-home respite to families who were providing 24/7 care. We all know that we need a break sometimes, and to be at our best optimal health, we need to do things with a good balance. And so we had volunteers come in and relieve that family caregiver and spend time with that care receiver. Then we also, again, evolving over the years, added the Friendly Visitor Program and Medical Transportation Program, both led by volunteers, again, to help seniors decrease isolation and loneliness if they were living alone or no longer driving, and really just wanted to go do fun things or get out in the community or have someone to socialize with. One of the big things I keep thinking about over the years, Amy, is that not everyone who lives alone is lonely. And so really for us, we realize that there are a lot of individuals who are in this population of 55 and better who are extremely active and really involved in their communities, still some working, and helping raise grandchildren and all that kind of stuff, traveling. But for those who can't, we really want to be an option for them to have someone to talk with and spend some time with. So that's really important for us as an agency to keep being an option for seniors who need maybe a little something.
Sure, that's really excellent that you acknowledge that. I think that's very important to realize, so thank you for that. So United Way of Olmsted County proudly supports specifically your Friendly Visiting Program, as well as your Caregiver Support Program. Could you give us a little bit more detail about those programs specifically and what they entail?
Sure. So as I've kind of mentioned, Friendly Visiting is really giving a client an hour or two a week of social interaction. And what the volunteer and client decide to do together is really up to them. Could be going for walks or going for a drive. It could be going out for, before COVID-19, go out for a meal or catch a movie. I do think that the pandemic has changed some things. And so we've, I will speak to that as well, of how we've kind of adapted to still be able to help individuals through this time. But that was kind of our purpose, is to give individuals that social connection and to help combat any maybe isolation or loneliness, grieving that they are experiencing. As for Caregiver Supports, we still have volunteers who come into the home once a week, 2 to 3 hours at a time, to still give a break to the caregiver so they can go and take some time for themselves to unwind or decompress or just go to their own medical appointments or social outings. Over the years, we had an extension to our caregiver respite. When I came on early on, it was evident that families were looking for more than just once a week and more than just someone to stay and hang out and be there to supervise. So we've added what's called our companion program. And these are individuals who can go in and help seniors in their home with tasks, as well as give a caregiver a break. So it's really been a program that has blown up, I'm going to say in a good way. A lot of folks love where they live, their home may be paid for, and they just want to stay there for as long as they possibly can. And we want to be an option for them to do that safely. So a companion will go in and help with, could be anything from meal prep to shopping and housekeeping, running errands with them, visiting, respite, all of that. So really being able to help people, could be once a month, could be every day. So we're really happy to know that we've got our multi-level caregiver respite program and supports for that. Beyond the in-home supports, Amy, we also have a lot of education and I would say support programs for caregivers, such as our evidence-based workshops that we provide. We have a REACH program that's designed for caregivers who are supporting somebody with a dementia. And we also have the Powerful Tools for Caregivers workshop, which is designed for all family caregivers, or what they call like non-professional caregivers, who really can take some time and learn about themselves and be the best optimal self while they're caring for other people. So those are two really great education programs that we can offer. We also have coaching and opportunities for them to get supports through our senior advocates, who are also coaches and can help with those difficult decisions that come along the way. How do I deal with this and how do I deal with that? When do I know when it's time to get in-home help? When do I know when it's time to look at a facility? How do I not feel guilty about making those types of decisions? So we help people with some really high emotional, I would say, needs here at Elder Network. We're really equipped with being a listening ear and working with individuals on a case-by-case situation to help them navigate through their situation.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like there are a lot of cool ways to get involved in the work that you do. And of course, there's lots of support from the staff. I myself have volunteered through the Friendly Visitor program, and I had an excellent time. So highly recommend that experience to anyone interested. So health is our United Way fourth quarter theme of the year. So we really focus on health and mental well-being during this time of year. So how specifically does Elder Network and these two programs that we're talking about use social connections as a lever to increase or make more positive health changes in our community and really combat the social isolation that some seniors may be feeling?
Sure. Well, like I mentioned before, we want to be an option, right? Some people in this community don't have a whole lot of connections. They may have moved here for medical reasons and don't have a support system through a church or neighborhood or family that maybe traveled with them. So sometimes they're reaching out to us because they don't really know anybody else. And in working with an agency, we've vetted all of our volunteers. We work with other agencies and organizations to partner with what they can offer and what we can offer. So by making that connection through, I would say, that Friendly Visitor program or even the Caregiver Supports program, we can really help them get connected to other agencies that, I always say, life is kind of like a puzzle. And each agency and organization is a piece of that puzzle. And sometimes an agency can fill 3 or 4 pieces of your puzzle, but not all of them. So we really want to get to know our clients and really help connect them to other community agencies and organizations if there's something that they need that we don't offer. So really being able to, again, look at their case-by-case situation, hearing from them what they really desire at this time and what are the barriers that they've experienced, and then working with our staff to really figure out what would be possibly some good fits and how we can actually make those referral calls or get them connected where it's not just here's a phone number and give them a call, but it's let me help you make that phone call. Let's have a 3-way conversation. Let's really see if this is going to be a good fit. And then we too know that that person has been then connected with that agency and it's not just a guesstimate, if they really got what they needed. So I would say that, with our agency being around for as long as it has and making the partnerships within the communities, we're really able to build on all the services that the community has to offer and really help an individual have their best optimal life.
Absolutely. I love that metaphor. The puzzle idea is great. Just making sure that really finding your niche as Elder Network, but then depending on other agencies for other services that you maybe don't provide directly. Very cool. How does Elder Network see COVID-19 affecting your work, and how have you adapted to all the changes we've been seeing in these days?
Yeah, great question, Amy. I'm sure like many other organizations, we took some time at the beginning of COVID to really figure out how we can deliver our programs and services. 95% of what we do is face-to-face. So for us to sit back and say, how can we still be providing a service that's really making a difference? It took some time for us to make a lot of phone calls to clients on a weekly basis, checking in. How are you doing? How has COVID actually changed your life? And, at the beginning, we weren't doing really any face-to-face and friendly visiting at all. Many of our folks are in a facility that we couldn't even get into, which is still the case even today for some of our folks. So volunteers really calling, sending cards, if they both have access to technology, Zooming each other and things of that nature to really help that face-to-face connection besides just a phone call. Being able to do drive-bys and stand outside the door and wave and windows and things, we did during the summer months as well. I would say one of the big things that we have adapted to is learning how to use the social media like Zoom. We now have all of our support groups on Zoom. We've had doodling classes, so some art people can log into and do some art with us. We now have a walking group that is outdoors, social distancing. We do hope come winter months, they would want to jump onto something live like this and keep those connections and still talk, even though they can't walk and talk outside in the winter months. But really just finding ways to use social media, doing live bingo, through partnering with 125 Live to offer virtual bingo for people. Anything we can possibly try is something that our staff have really been working hard to do, because we know that there's nothing like face-to-face and in person. But the next best thing is still being able to communicate on a regular basis, let people know we're still there for them. What are they feeling? I would say probably one of the most surprising things, Amy, is that we've had clients say, well, the pandemic really hasn't changed my life. I mean, I think the rest of the world is just realizing now what it's like to be stuck at home. And that was really an eye opener for us here at the office to hear that, that COVID hasn't really changed their life any. They weren't really traveling. They weren't really having guests over, they were maybe already having their groceries delivered. things of that nature. And so that was just a really good reminder to all of us that now that we've been in this situation of maybe not being able to leave our home as often or to go as many places as we once did, is to kind of have this sense of it can get pretty lonely on your own at home and not be able to just go every place you want and see every person you want to see. And so to take a minute and really think about that. And I think being able to put ourselves in our client's shoes saying, well, what would I need to get through the day? Maybe a card is enough. Maybe a phone call or a text or an email or a drive-by with a honk, is just enough to know that someone's thinking about me. And those small acts of kindness really can go a long way. Our goal is to be able to get back to face with as many individuals that feel safe. But right now, our office is still pretty much closed to walk-ins. Staff are working remotely from home, but we're still here to help. I mean, our phones are on. We're here to, connect with individuals. I would say that we, do still have a good, steady number of people calling our office every week who hadn't used our services before. But because of the pandemic, they're now in a situation where they're looking for something. And so that has really been an amazing opportunity to connect with people who may have not needed us before, but do now and are wanting to even get connected. We've had a commercial that went out and that has been airing live, and it's been amazing how many people it's resonated with. They've called in and say, I saw your commercial and I want to get involved. I feel so bad for that lady in the park who was ignored and felt invisible. And so how can I help? So we've had a lot of people step up and want to get connected, which is amazing. I would say at the moment, our need is for people who need the help, because we still have more volunteers, I would say, ready to give it than we have people ready to accept it. So it's an ebb and flow in a nonprofit world, and working with volunteers. Sometimes you have more volunteers than you have clients, and sometimes you have more clients waiting than people to provide. So I just want people to know at this time that we could use more clients, who are looking for that social connection through that friendly visitor program, because we got volunteers ready to support you. And that's amazing. We also are piloting a transportation program to help people get to non-medical places. So we know the need is out there to help people get out and get their groceries on their own, or go get their haircut now that they feel safe to do that. And we're in need of more volunteer drivers to help get them to and from. So I would say that, no matter what program we're in, we're always looking for either more clients to participate or more volunteers to want to get involved in a small way that works for them and in their schedule. And as you know, Amy, as a volunteer, we hope as an agency, we're not asking too much of people to help maybe an hour or two a week. But that hour or two can mean the world to somebody who don't have anyone else. So being their option to stay at home safely, to have the best quality of life they can with what they're dealing with, and for us to help them along that way is such a heart thing for us. I mean, that's why we do what we do every day. We know it's making a difference, and we want to keep offering that to people.
Totally. And I would say too, it goes both ways, right? So the volunteer is getting this lifetime of enrichment and gratitude for the folks in your community that maybe you wouldn't interact with otherwise. So definitely a worthwhile mission to be involved in. I love the drive-by honking. That's so fun, and being creative with the walking groups and coloring. I'll have to check that out too. So you kind of spoke about the need for some volunteers. So I guess this is kind of an off the cuff question. If someone does want to refer someone to your programming, how would they go about that? What would the process be for the person that would receive services from you?
Sure. So usually when someone calls in, they're kind of like, what do you guys offer? What can we expect? And we let them know that there is an intake process that due to COVID, we now do over the phone. So if it's a client wanting some services, we would set up a time to visit with them over the phone and go through our intake process. And then we set up a quick, what we call meet and greet. We go out and get their signatures on the forms. It's an opportunity for us to meet face to face, but in a limited capacity, masks on, 6 feet away. Usually I've been meeting people out in their garage or, in the driveway. But still having that connection, I think, is really important so they know who they've been speaking with, who is going to be their contact person at the office, I think is important. And then depending on what program that they're interested in, if there are volunteers available right away, we get them connected. As you know, as a volunteer, we like to do that meet and greet and opportunity. I believe that probably more things are happening on Zoom or again, outside for those quick visits for those who are ready for that. If they're not ready for face-to-face, it would just all be over the phone to getting them connected and, sharing with the client as much as we can about who the volunteer would be. We have quite a process as a coordinator that we go through of how we match people. It isn't just who's available, but it's interests, it's backgrounds, it's availability of time. We may have some volunteers who are still working throughout the day, and so they can only support people at night or on weekends. So we'd want to find clients that are also looking for that same kind of time frame. But having similar backgrounds and interests really make it interesting. People who have grown up on farms and have had animals, maybe there's a volunteer that has an animal that they bring with, and that just makes the time together that much more special. And they reminisce about, when the client had animals of their own and the love that brought and things like that. When it comes to volunteers wanting to get connected, certainly, everyone can call our phone number, which is 507-285-5272, or they can check out our website at elder-network.org. Can also get connected through that way. But with volunteers as well, calling in, just saying, this is what I'm interested in doing. Do you have any openings? Again, there's an application, background check that we do, and then a short orientation, just to kind of let them know of the agency itself, answer any questions they have, make sure they're comfortable working with the senior of different levels of capacity of need. We are a non-medical agency, but we do support people who have been living with many chronic conditions for a long time. So we just want to make sure the volunteers feel comfortable with what might they be seeing or, have to deal with when they're there with a client or supporting them in some way. And then, as you know, getting them connected, and then the time and day they choose to keep those connections is up to them. We don't really micromanage our volunteers. We want to be there to be a support. If there's questions that come up along the way, we want to be available, that we can help again with those community partnerships. It's really common, I think, for a volunteer to say, well, while I was spending time with my client, this came up. And I know there must be something that can help them in the community. So let's call Holly or Debbie or whomever and see, who we can connect them to. So I think that's really important to be there for our volunteers and clients as things come up along the way. And I also think that's a blessing to clients to be with an agency who can be there for them as things change and evolve, compared to just having a neighbor who's really involved in being helpful, which is great. But sometimes life changes, right? Neighbors move away, they get different jobs, their own health may change. And we don't want people to feel like they can only rely on those sources of support, but also coming to an agency where we have maybe a bigger pool of people to offer something, I think can be refreshing and just kind of a life net for some people.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Holly, and your team and everyone that supports Elder Network for supporting those 65 and better in our community and being healthy in mind and spirit. That's really excellent work that you've been doing, so keep it up. And we look forward to having people learn more about your program through this live. So thank you, viewers, for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye, Holly.
Bye.